Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to editing a Vivaldi Violin Concerto every day, highlighting the plight of our musicians at La Serenissima who've lost all their work due to COVID-19. Please do make a donation to help our musicians who are in a bit of a tight spot at the moment. We were looking yesterday at the concerto in C minor, RV198. That survives in a single source in the hand of Johann Georg Pisendel, Vivaldi's pupil. I mentioned that it was probably a prototype for RV198A, which is the 11th concerto in the publication, the Opus 9 publication that Vivaldi made at the end of the 1720s. The Opus 9 was given a title, La Cetra. La Cetra means the lyre, and it was probably given this title because the set was dedicated to the Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI, and in dedicating the set to the Emperor and giving it this title, Vivaldi was giving the whole set Apollonian connotations. Apollo's instrument was the lyre. But by the 18th century, lyres were sort of a bit out of fashion and had been sort of replaced by the violin family. So you can think that the emperor sort of upgraded his lyre with an Apple Mac Stradivarius. Vivaldi's idea is that he flatters the emperor by giving him illusions of grandeur. Well, no, he was great. He was a very cultured chap, and our trumpet playing colleagues would be pleased to know that one of the first things he did when he got into power was to increase the number of trumpets at his court. Anyway, that's another story. Having gone through the whole of the Opus 9 version of the piece, it's kind of incredible the amount of changes that Vivaldi has made to this concerto. There are some changes that are very obvious, where he cuts bars, and then there are some changes that are really, really quite subtle, particularly with the viola part. I commented on the sort of gruff nature of the opening of the concerto yesterday with all the bottom C strings. But if you compare this is the concerto from yesterday, this is the viola part. And now if you compare that to the viola part that Vivaldi's written in the Opus 9, he's made the viola play right down at the bottom of the instrument. There's something that you don't see a huge amount of Vivaldi viola parts. He sort of seems to sort of stick them more on the sort of DNA strings, really. Gruff viola parts you find in composers like Brescianello often uses the real bottom of the instrument. But a part like this is not. I mean, it does happen in Vivaldi, but it's not totally usual. Anyway, here's a bit of a blast of 198A. There's not much difference here apart from the viola part. Mind you, nobody would want to hear it or play it at that tempo. So we'll just make it a bit slow. Sorry about that, folks. Technical hitch. Here we go. Right, marvellous. Here we go. So there you go. There's not a huge. I mean, if you can see from my list of differences, the first movement is those are all the differences between the two versions. There's quite a few, but there's not a huge amount that's. There's the odd bar that's been erased, but not a huge amount that would really, really grip you. Obviously, the first major change comes in the slow movement, where Vivaldi, in the original version of the concerto, has composed a cantabile melody for the soloist, accompanied by pizzicato strings. He gets rid of that in the later version. There was nothing wrong with it, but the previous concerto in the Opus 9, Opus 9 number 10, already has a pizzicato accompaniment for a slow movement. So Vivaldi probably thought that probably sticking them two of those together probably didn't make sense, particularly if he's trying to get a job from the emperor. So instead, he comes up with quite an arresting opening for a new slow movement. Except we don't want it that fast. Sorry. Everybody knows how I hate things too fast. It's very, very typical of Vivaldi, all these sort of fortepiano, all thoroughly written out in the instrumental parts. Going on to the last movement, this is where he really starts to get the scissors out and start chopping the concerto up. Just to give, because I'll be told off for making the video too long again. Just a couple of brief things. Here's the ritornello from the original version of the concerto, and then we'll compare it to the later version. So, got the tempo wrong again. There we go. Sorry. This bit goes on a bit. So there you go, that's the original version, and then after he's had his scissors out and given it a good prune, this is what he comes up with. Sorry, not having much luck today. Hold on one second. Right, try that again. Here we go. So straight in with the new material there. That viola part's been altered. End of ritornello. So not only does he this passage here, this section, he chops by one bar. That's real genius, because this kind of figure works particularly well in blocks of 2 or 4 bars. But Vivaldi goes, right at the end, we make it a 3-bar phrase, total genius. And then the sort of octave bit at the end, he just gets rid totally. There are other subtle things, like the changes, this barriolage passage. In the original, probably easier to demonstrate this on the violin. In the original, Vivaldi has a pattern that goes, which is rather cumbersome for the bow hand, because every 3 beats you have a very big leap to make with this with your right arm. But in this pattern, what he smooths it out to sort of giving a slight sort of hemione effect over each of the 2 bars. And he's also originally he had a choppy accompaniment figure here. Now he sort of ironed it out with beautiful long crotchets. There was also another. This was quite an interesting. This solo here. If I find it, where is that? Here we go. This is what he does in the original version. That's hard. And there's a forest of flats, which is a real swine. And then, so possibly, maybe that's why Pisendel liked the concerto, because it had really difficult bits in it like that. This is what he does in the later version. Gets rid of all the upper strings accompaniment, just puts it in the continuo. And this is where he cuts it massively. And this has changed as well. So there's about sort of 7, 8, 9 bars just completely cut, which happen to be the hardest bit of the solo. So there you go. For those people that think that Vivaldi sort of arrived at his concerto final results by sort of by hook or by crook, by sort of pin the tail on the donkey kind of thing, there you go. There's evidence there that he really didn't do that, and that he thought about things incredibly carefully. Anyway, so I think it's Grosso Mogul tomorrow, so see you then. Cheers.